Have you ever stopped to think about one of the most common dynamics in dating? I mean, why is it that traditionally, it always seems to be the men who do the chasing? It's a question that pops up everywhere, across cultures and time. Well, today, we're going to dive into one very specific and pretty ancient explanation for this whole thing.
Okay, so let's get right into it. The big question our source material is trying to answer is one we've all seen. It's a pattern that's super familiar, but the reason for it? That's always up for debate. We're about to explore a really unique answer that comes from a single, fascinating, ancient source.
So where is this idea even coming from? Well, the entire argument we're about to break down is built on the teachings of one single, ancient Indian text. It's not looking at this through, modern psychology or anything like that, but through a much older, more classical lens.
The text itself is called Chanakya Niti. Now, if you're not familiar with it, it's an ancient Indian treatise that covers everything from politics to ethics to just how to live life. And there's one specific verse from this text that's the bedrock for the entire argument we're about to unpack. And here it is, the core claim from that text. It draws this direct comparison, and get this, it states that compared to men, women have twice the hunger, 4 times the modesty, 6 times the courage, and, here's the real kicker, 8 times the desire or sensuality.
Just let that sink in for a second. 8 times. The source puts this idea front and center, that a woman's capacity for desire is, according to this text, just exponentially greater than a man's. And that immediately creates a kind of paradox, doesn't it? Which, of course, brings us to the central paradox of this whole argument. I mean, if women really do possess 8 times the desire, then logically, you'd think they would be the ones making the first move all the time. But that's not traditionally what we see. So how on earth does the source explain this apparent contradiction?
Well, the explanation they offer is all about an internal balancing act. That huge amount of desire is supposedly held in check by an equally powerful counteracting force. The source calls this shame or modesty, saying women have 4 times more of it. And it's not framed as a bad thing, but as a form of really profound self-control.
The specific Sanskrit word used is lajja, and the source explains that this concept is the key. It's the mechanism that allows this powerful desire to be concealed, only to be expressed, as they put it, when she is intimate with her partner.
But okay, the argument doesn't just stop with what's going on inside. The source then connects this whole dynamic to external factors, like the different ways we mature and the massive role that society plays in all of this.
The source links this internal control directly to maturity. It claims that at the super young age of 13, a girl is considered mature, even biologically capable of being a mother, while a boy the same age is seen as immature and really just not getting it yet.
And to really paint a picture here, the source uses a metaphor. It describes young men as being like coins. I mean, what do coins do? They jingle, they're restless, they jump around. This is meant to represent that feeling of immaturity and a lack of stability.
Now, in sharp contrast, a girl is compared to a 2,000 rupee note. Unlike a coin, you don't just toss a high-value note around, right? It's kept carefully, it's seen as stable, valuable. This metaphor is all about illustrating a kind of inherent stability and worth. And then, to top it all off, society steps in and basically locks this dynamic into place. The source argues that our social expectations just reinforce these roles. Girls are taught that shame and restraint are virtues, while boys are taught that it's their job to initiate and pursue. It just creates this cycle that keeps itself going. Now, the source doesn't present this as some kind of timeless, unbreakable rule. It does take a moment to acknowledge that, today's world looks a lot different than it did when these ideas were first written down.
It specifically admits that in modern culture, things are changing, the lines have gotten blurry, and it's not so weird anymore for women to take the lead. And that's a really important nuance to what is otherwise a very traditional argument.
So, to recap the entire chain of logic from the source, it starts with the idea of 8 times more desire. That desire is then controlled by 4 times more modesty. Society then comes in and reinforces this whole dynamic. And the final result? Men become the initiators in the game of love.
To wrap things up, the source adds one last layer. It suggests that a man can never truly win against a woman when it comes to love, which kind of implies she holds the real power. It also claims that men actually enjoy the chase and what's known as nakras, those playful airs and graces, and that a lot of men prefer women who aren't so easily won over. And this brings us to the source's final and pretty provocative message. It's a direct challenge to the idea that the pursuer is the one who's actually in control. By presenting this ancient framework, the source leaves us with a question. Is the dynamic of pursuit really what it seems on the surface? It suggests that if men think they're the ones leading the dance, well, maybe they ought to think again.